When I was in college, I stayed in a dormitory, and I soon found out that on Saturday afternoons in the springtime, if I wanted to take a nap, the best place to do it was in the TV room. Because in the spring, people would inevitably have a baseball game on TV, and I would just go in there, sit down on one of the couches, and within minutes, I would be asleep. So I learned that things like baseball games and elections are good at putting you to sleep fast. The reason I bring that up is because over the past several days, being locked down here in Kuala Lumpur, I, like I'm sure many of you watching this, have resorted to YouTube for entertainment. One of the things I found on YouTube was the 2016 US presidential election. You may recall that that's the election where Donald Trump became president of the United States. Now, I had no idea that the entire night of television was available on YouTube, but it is. I noticed this when I started looking through it, and I found out that ABC has, I think, a 7-hour video. I'm not sure exactly what time it started, but it has it all the way up till the end of Donald Trump's speech, where he announces the concession of Hillary Clinton and thanks the audience and things like that for electing him president. PBS has a 9-hour video. Fox has a 7-hour video. MSNBC has 2 videos, and I think it adds up to something like 6 or 7 hours. So I decided one day that I was going to watch this. And just like what happened when I was watching baseball back in college, I soon fell asleep. But it was a fascinating history lesson that I really appreciate being able to view on YouTube, because during the 2016 election, I wasn't in the US and I was here in 2016. So I could just read about the election or see some of the shorter videos that people had online about it. So it was fun watching the whole thing.
James, I've seen you worried from time to time. I've never seen you more worried about anything than you were worried about Virginia. How are you feeling now?
Well, I feel much better. The party chair that I've been in contact with, and she's watching with the government, it's moving better, because if we lost Virginia, we probably were going to lose. So that usually, but you know, I mean, still a very good chance that she'll be the next president.
Yeah, for sure there's a chance she'll be the next president, but it's a lot closer than anybody expected.
Presidency is up for grabs. We just heard it there on live television. Both Mr. Carville and Mr. Schmidt exercising a whole lot of caution. The American people have a funny way of making sure they get heard, and they are being heard tonight.
Oh boy, Brian Williams really likes to hear himself talk, doesn't he?
Here they are. Here are the closings this hour. It is 10 p.m.
CNN also had some videos online, and I watched a little bit of those, but frankly I couldn't take Wolf Blitzer. Every time they had a key race result or something, I forget what they called it, or a CNN projection, Wolf would immediately then go to the Electoral College tally, and then before he would go to the next segment, he would always have to tell people how many votes were needed to win the presidency, or win the White House is how he put it, every single time. I think it's 270, but I'm not sure. I only heard it like 500 times from Wolf Blitzer that night.
Trump needing 270 to win the White House. 270, 270, 270, 270. Trump needing 270 to win the White House.
Wolf is the kind of TV guy that likes to hear himself talk. And he made sure that he got in every single word every time that he had to talk about the Electoral College tally.
New Hampshire and Maine. Too early to call. Here we go, Arizona. 11 electoral votes. Missouri, Trump in the lead.
If you want to talk about people that like to hear themselves talk, though, the top prize goes to Brian Williams over at MSNBC. This guy loves every syllable that he utters, and he makes sure that he shoves every syllable that he says right down your throat. He is, I don't know how they put up with it over there, but he just loves to hear the sound of his voice.
Everybody's asking, I think, seeing the results come in. Can Donald Trump win the presidency tonight? Let me take you through what it would take. We said a narrow path coming into tonight. Some things are going his way. We just showed you Ohio. Now, Hillary Clinton was just called the winner in Virginia. We can add that to her column. By the way, what you're seeing here, some of these states that are lighter colors, they haven't actually been called yet for the purposes.
Steve looks like he's ready to jump out the window there.
To win in Idaho, we're going to expect Clinton to win California, Oregon, Washington. Keeping that in mind, what at this point would it take for Donald Trump to get to 270? Count up with me here. Start in New Hampshire. We got a too close to call race there. Let's say Donald Trump wins New Hampshire. Take a look in Maine. Now, you got the statewide, you got the first congressional
I hope
district.
there's somebody there that
Portland, kind of Democratic.
gives him oxygen every now and then.
In Maine, you get an electoral vote for a district. This is very rural. He's got a shot there.
My vote for hardest working election night reporter, though, has to go to Steve Kornacki over at MSNBC. Steve had the job of sort of going to the map, as they would always say, and highlighting what the electoral college pathway was for each of the candidates. Towards the end of the evening, or actually in the middle of the evening, it became clear that Hillary Clinton's pathway, using the, I guess, the approved political lingo, started to get harder and harder to see. And Steve was always jumping around the map. He was crouched down, ready to pounce on anything, any bit of news or information that came up. But I remember thinking at the time that I hope somebody at MSNBC was standing by to give him oxygen after each one of his segments, because it seemed like he would need it.
And this Latino surge in Florida, but boy.
I don't know, George. Take a look at this. It's still very close, but Donald Trump with a 130,000 plus vote lead. And I've been talking a lot about Broward County, just north of Miami. Look what's happening in Broward County. 98% of the vote is in, and Donald Trump still has a big lead in the state of Florida. It looks to me like he is trending towards winning the state.
What is happening, and there is shock on the faces of her supporters. Sorry, Kim, go ahead.
No, obviously there's a serious concern for them tonight, because the pathway that they thought was going to lead to the Oval has not proven to be true thus far.
Looks like a Coldplay concert.
As it relates for Chris.
The funniest remark of the night, though, came from some guy over at Fox. I forget his last name, but his first name is Greg. He's sort of the resident wise guy. He was sitting next to Juan Williams for a while, if you want to go back and look. Anyway, the camera switched over to Clinton campaign headquarters at the Javits Center, and it seemed like everybody was quiet and somber, and he wisecracked, looks like a Coldplay concert. And I thought that was the funniest thing. Nobody commented, nobody even laughed. But to me, that was the funniest thing I heard all night. So anyway, that's what I've been doing with the TV during the lockdown here in Kuala Lumpur, watching old election results. If you haven't checked into that stuff, it's very interesting, and I'm glad that it's available. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.